Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from AlexMercedCoder.dev, GrokOverflow.com, DevNursery.com, all the good things. And you can also subscribe to my podcast, Web Dev 101, on iTunes, Spotify, all that stuff. But in this video, what I want to do is just kind of give an example of, or basically high-level principles of how do you build a carousel. Okay. Again, you can kind of take these basic ideas and then adapt it to create a carousel that is to your liking for your particular project. Because it's, again, there's no like one way to do things, but there is sort of oftentimes a general sort of like thought process. So here we go, and let's talk about like a carousel, just or a slider or some sort of like picture toggly thingy kind of thing. So let's take a look. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a carousel.html. We'll just do it all straight from an HTML file, just to keep this, not spend too much time having to connect a bunch of files. And bottom line is this. What we're going to want to do is, there's a couple different ways we can do this, but I will start with an existing image tag. So we're going to just say we have an image tag with an ID of carousel, let's say. And we need to give it like an initial picture that's going to show up on the screen. Okay, that'll be sort of like our starting spot. Now, let's see here. Let's go to images.google.com and let's make this a carousel of cheeses. Okay, so here we go. We got pictures of cheeses. Okay, so we'll say the initial picture is this one. So let me expand this a little bit. Copy image address. Okay. And then let's open this up in Live Server. Okay, and you see that I have a cheese. Now, one thing I'd like to do is I'm going to want to style that so that way it doesn't take up the whole screen. So I'm going to create a style tag here so I can write some CSS. And I'm just going to say for image tags, I want images to generally be a height of 300 pixels, a width of 300 pixels. And now you see now like I get this like sort of like distorted picture. Well, the way I can fix that is I can do object fit, and I'll make that cover, and that should fix that. And see, like that looks a little bit better. Instead of like forcing it to be in the square, what it does is it just stretches the picture so that way it covers the square. So you're missing some of the edges, but it looks better. It's not like warped. And just for the sake of it being pretty, we'll just put like a border radius of like, let's say 50 pixels, so some really rounded corners. Yep. And then we'll give it a little bit of a border. We'll just say 5 pixels solid brown. Okay, and there you go. So we have a picture, and let me center that. Text align center. Yeah, that won't work. I have to, because it's technically inside the body element. I don't want to center the whole body, so I'm going to put the picture inside of a div. So let me just put this image inside of a div, because again, I don't want to center everything possibly. I just want to center the picture. So I'll put the picture in its own div, and then since it's the only div, I'll just style the div and say div text align center. So anything inside the div will be text align center, which includes the picture, and huzzah. Okay. So that just makes the picture look a little bit nicer as far as how it shows up on the screen. Now for the JavaScript portion. Now the thing is that what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it where if you click on this, it should cycle through pictures of cheeses. So what I want to do is create a script tag for the JavaScript side of things, and just kind of talk about the high level. What's going to happen is the idea is we're going to have an array of pictures. Because at the end of the day, what the image tag relies on isn't an actual physical picture. It relies on a URL to a picture. So we just need an array of strings with different URLs. And then what we can do is that every time we click on the picture, or let's say you decide to use like, backward and forward buttons, anytime you click on any kind of whatever you want to respond to, it should like move to the next image in the array. So what it'll do is it'll just swap out that source property with the next string. Okay, so first let's just actually build our image array. So const, we'll call it images equals an array. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to close that out so we have some more space. And let's just start putting some images in here. We, of course, want our original image because we do want it to be able to go back to the beginning. Okay, so again, I got to put that in a string. So let me just put that in a string. There we go. And then we want to add a few more pictures. Copy image address. Oops. Oops, that doesn't help. Copy image address. There we go. And there we go, 3 pictures should do the job. Okay, so we have an array of 3 strings, 3 pictures. Okay, now generally what I'm going to do is I'm going to track which picture it is based on a variable. We'll call it the index. Okay, so we'll say let index equal 0. So because right now we're on the first picture, so right now the index of the current photo is 0. And then I'm going to create a function. So function swap photo. Okay, which is going to take no arguments. I can do everything inside the function. What we're going to do is we're going to change that image. Every time we do this, we're going to change that image tag. So I'm going to need that image tag in a variable. So I'm going to say const image equals .document.query selector image. So that gives me the image tag. And again, what I want to do is I don't want to change it to the 0 index because that's right, I'm currently there. Because again, we can start off, we have that picture already starting out. So I really want to move on to the next image. So what I'll do is I'll also change the index variable and add 1 to it. So that way the index is now going to be 1 on the first click. And then what we'll do is we'll say image.set attribute. So I'm going to set an attribute. The attribute I want to change is source. Okay. The source attribute, which I have to pass in the string, so source. And then the new value, I want it to be whatever from the images array, specifically whatever picture is at the index at that particular number inside the index variable. Okay. And then that should do the swapping. Again, not quite done yet, but that's essentially the idea. I'm just saying I'm going to take the image element and I'm just changing its source property so that way it has a different URL, so it points to a different picture, and then it should update on the screen. So just to test that out, what I'm going to do is I want to document.query selector the image, query selector the image, and then I'm going to add an event listener to it. And the event listener will respond on click. And whenever we click, it'll do the swap photo function. Okay. So that's what that will do. So technically right now, it should kind of work. So like if I click on this, see, it's cycling. But look, eventually I have no more pictures left. Why? Because it keeps adding 1 to index, but eventually you run out of pictures in the array. It'll go 0, starts at 0, then it goes to 1, then it goes to 2, and then 3, there's no additional thing in the array. So I got to make sure I plan for that. So what I got to do is ask myself a question. What happens if the index is equal or greater, actually it should be greater or equal than images.length? Okay, like basically at that point you've already passed all the pictures that are in the array. Okay, so in that situation, what's going to happen is we'll set index back to 0. Okay, and then we'll do the set attribute. Okay, so I just check for that situation, and so in that case now, if I refresh the page, and see now it goes back and it cycles through. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Okay, that's pretty much all there is to a doing a slider or a carousel, an image carousel. Okay, you're just literally just saying that anytime you click on the thing, you're just changing the image. You could just just empty out the image tag and replace it with a new image tag. But honestly, it's probably simpler just to switch out the source property. Okay, so that way you're doing the smallest change possible. But you can see here, it doesn't take that much code to do it. We just have the array of photos, a variable to track which photo we're looking at currently. And then what I do is I just update that variable and then update the image on each click. And again, make sure whatever I want to be the trigger, which could be the image, could be like a back and forward button and put the click event there. Or, you could make it a hover event. Like, bottom line, you ask yourself what event you want to trigger the switch. But again, this is going to be like the generic principle behind executing a image slider. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. My name is Alex Merced from AlexMercedCoder. I will see you all on the next video. So have a great day. I'll see you there.